Hello, everyone. We hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're about to discover how a billionaire CEO unexpectedly found giant fish in an abandoned pond and realized that true happiness comes from life's simplest moments. If you enjoy this journey, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming videos. I had already planted the water spinach a few days ago, and it's growing really well. If everything continues like this, it shouldn't be long before we can harvest it and bring it to the local market. Right beside that patch, I still have several empty rows waiting to be planted, so today I decided to finish sowing long bean seeds. For every little hole in the soil, I dropped in 3 seeds. That's usually enough to make sure at least 1 or 2 healthy plants grow strong. Farming always requires patience. You don't see results immediately, but every seed you place into the ground is a small investment for the future. After finishing this section, I plan to head into the village. The last few days had been extremely sunny, and I wasn't sure whether there would still be enough vegetables or fruit ready for harvest. Maybe there would be something worth collecting to sell at the market, maybe not. The only way to know was to go and check. If everything went well, I probably wouldn't be home until later in the afternoon. While I was busy with the garden, Jack was having a completely different kind of morning. Inside the company meeting room, he was sitting with several members of his management team, discussing an important construction project. Everyone knew this project could become a turning point for the company. Jack looked around the room before speaking calmly. This project is extremely important for us. We've gone through a difficult period recently, so now that we've finally secured this contract, we have to do everything we can to complete it successfully. One of his managers immediately updated everyone. The investor has just sent over the final request. They want the entire construction schedule accelerated. Jack frowned slightly. How much faster? 1 month earlier than our original plan. The room suddenly became quiet. Another engineer explained, "If we keep the current workforce, finishing on time will be very difficult. But if we add 2 additional construction teams working in separate zones, we have a chance." Jack nodded before asking the question that mattered most. What are the biggest risks? The weather and material deliveries. If materials arrive even a few days late, the entire schedule could fall behind. Another manager handed Jack a report. "I've calculated the additional expenses required if we speed up construction." Jack flipped through the documents. "What's the total?" "Around 30 billion. Jack leaned back in his chair. 30 billion. That was not a small number for any company. Night shifts, extra workers, additional equipment. It all came with a heavy cost. But another team member reminded everyone, if we finish on schedule, we'll receive a performance bonus from the investor. Jack smiled slightly. The money is important. He paused before continuing. But our reputation is even more valuable. Money can always be earned again. Once trust is lost, it's much harder to rebuild. He immediately began assigning responsibilities. Contact every material supplier today. I want signed commitments that deliveries won't be delayed. Yes, boss. Heap, from today onward, you'll personally supervise the technical work at the construction site. I don't want mistakes. Understood. Before ending the meeting, Jack looked at everyone once more. I know all of you have been working incredibly hard. I've spent years standing on construction sites myself. I know what it's like to work under the hot sun and heavy rain, solving problems every single day. So thank you. This company only exists because everyone has worked together. If we complete this project successfully, I promise everyone will receive a reward. The atmosphere inside the room immediately became much lighter. Everyone agreed to give their very best. The meeting ended, but Jack wasn't finished working yet. He stayed behind in the office, reviewing documents one last time. As he flipped through another report, he suddenly noticed several mistakes. This section isn't right. He called one of his staff members over to correct the paperwork. Even while fixing those final details, something else crossed his mind. Earlier that morning, Tu Tien had mentioned seeing fish swimming in the old pond behind the farm. Jack smiled. Maybe after work they could finally check it together. He picked up his phone and called her. "Hello? Tu Tien? Where are you?" She answered from the road. "I just finished at the market. I'm heading home now." Jack laughed. "I got back earlier than expected. You told me there were fish in the old pond this morning. I think we should go have a look." Tu Tien sounded excited. "I haven't checked it closely yet." "Wait for me. I'll be home soon. Drive carefully." "You too." After ending the call, Jack quickly changed out of his office clothes. Meanwhile, Tu Tien was making her way home. Earlier that day, she had walked through several nearby gardens, hoping to find fruits or vegetables that could be harvested and sold. Unfortunately, there wasn't much available. The weather had simply been too hot. As she rode home, she stopped beside a roadside sugarcane juice stall. "Excuse me? Could I have 2 cups of sugarcane juice, please?" The vendor quickly prepared the drinks. "That's 20,000 dong." Tu Tien happily paid before continuing toward the farm. Dark clouds were beginning to gather overhead. "It looks like it might rain later," she thought. When she finally arrived home, Jack was already waiting. Without wasting any time, both of them grabbed a few baskets and slowly walked toward the old pond behind the house. Neither of them expected what they were about to discover. The old pond had almost disappeared. Months without much rain had left only a shallow layer of water covering the muddy bottom. Tall grass surrounded the edges, and from a distance it looked as though nothing could possibly still be living there. Jack stood quietly for a moment before smiling. "I'll go down and have a look." The moment he stepped into the mud, something moved. "There are fish." He looked more carefully. "Wow, there are so many." Even though the water level was incredibly low, dozens of fish were still hiding among the remaining patches of grass. Some of them were surprisingly large. "I can't believe they've survived here this long." Jack slowly walked deeper into the pond, trying not to stir up too much mud. "If we leave them here much longer, this pond could dry out completely. Let's save as many as we can." Just then, Tu Tien arrived carrying the basket. "Jack, you've already started?" Jack laughed. "Come look." "I thought there wouldn't be anything left." "But there are fish everywhere." Tu Tien carefully looked into the water before her eyes widened. "I saw a few swimming here the other day. I never imagined they'd grown this big." Without another word, she climbed down into the pond beside him. The two of them began catching fish together. Because there wasn't much water left, they couldn't use a fishing net. Instead, they slowly cornered each fish by hand, carefully moving through the muddy water. Sometimes a fish would suddenly dart between their legs, splashing water everywhere before disappearing into the grass. Jack laughed. "That one escaped." Tu Tien pointed behind him. "Behind you!" "There's another big one." Jack turned around just in time. "There it is!" After several attempts, he finally caught it with both hands. Holding it up proudly, he smiled. "This one's huge!" Little by little, the basket became heavier. Whenever they caught a smaller fish, Tu Tien gently placed it into another container. We should move these little ones into the new pond. They'll have a much better chance of growing there. Jack nodded. Exactly. The larger ones can become tonight's dinner. The smaller ones deserve another chance. Together, they carefully carried every young fish across to the newer pond nearby before releasing them back into the water. Watching the tiny fish swim away felt strangely satisfying. Jack smiled quietly. Now they'll have somewhere safe to grow. After another half hour, the pond became noticeably quieter. Most of the large fish had already been caught. Only a few tiny ones remained hidden among the thick grass. I think that's enough. We'll leave the rest. As they looked around the nearly dry pond, Jack began planning aloud. In a few days, let's clean this pond. We'll deepen it a little and connect it to the natural spring over there. Tu Tien nodded. That spring flows all year, even during the dry season, so the pond shouldn't dry out again. Jack smiled. Perfect. Then we can raise even more fish naturally. By now, both of them were completely covered in mud. Their clothes were soaked. Their hands smelled of pond water, yet neither of them seemed to mind. As they climbed the slippery bank together, Jack reached back and held out his hand. Careful! It's slippery. Tu Tien laughed while grabbing his hand. I've got it! The heavy basket of fish swung gently between them as they slowly walked back toward the farmhouse. Along the way, they passed several old banana trees. Tu Tien pointed toward them. Those bananas are almost ready. When they ripen, we can harvest them and sell them at the market. Jack looked over with a smile. Good idea. Nothing here should go to waste. Everything on the farm seemed to have a purpose. Back at the house, Jack poured the fish into a large basin. They counted the catch together. 5 large fish and several smaller ones. Tu Tien thought for a moment. We'll cook one tonight. The rest, she smiled. Let's marinate them with Northwest spices and smoke them over charcoal. That way we'll have delicious fish to enjoy over the next several days. Jack agreed immediately. Perfect. Before starting, Tu Tien handed him one of the sugarcane juices she had bought earlier. I picked this up on my way home. Jack shook his head with a smile. You drink it. I'll just have some water. My mouth's felt a little bitter these past few days anyway. Tu Tien looked at him with concern. You're working too hard. You should take better care of yourself. Jack simply smiled. I'll be fine. You go take a shower first. I'll clean the fish. She hesitated. Let me help. But Jack gently insisted. I've got this. You've already worked all day. While Tu Tien went to wash up, Jack carefully cleaned every fish one by one. The largest fish would become dinner. The others were split open along the back, making them perfect for marinating before being slowly smoked. Once Tu Tien returned, she brought out a tray filled with fresh ingredients: garlic, shallots, fresh chili, fish sauce, black pepper, and of course, the unmistakable Northwest spice blend featuring mac ken and aromatic herbs. As she crushed the garlic and shallots together, an incredible fragrance filled the yard. Jack inhaled deeply. That smells amazing, Tu Tien laughed. Wait until it's mixed with the fish. It'll smell even better. Together they rubbed every piece generously with the seasoning until every surface was evenly coated. The rich aroma of spices blended beautifully with the fresh fish. Jack looked at the tray with satisfaction. I think these will taste incredible after they're smoked. Once everything had been prepared, Tu Tien lit the charcoal stove, while Jack gathered extra firewood nearby. Soon, thin streams of fragrant smoke drifted slowly upward into the evening sky. Dinner was beginning to take shape, and without either of them realizing it, the stress of meetings, deadlines, construction schedules, and billion-dollar decisions had quietly disappeared. Here, beside a small farmhouse surrounded by birdsong, wood smoke, and the scent of freshly marinated fish, life suddenly felt wonderfully simple. After a demanding business meeting, CEO Jack returns to the farm and discovers giant fish thriving in an abandoned pond with Tu Tien. Together they catch fish, prepare a delicious smoked dinner, and realize that true happiness isn't found in wealth, but in peaceful moments, meaningful work, and sharing life's simple joys together.